What's up, everybody? Noble Comics here. Wanted to talk about mental illness today. Buzzword of the day, mental illness. Two main things. Mental illness, one, has become pretty much an excuse for people to just be bad people or unproductive people or whatever. And two, mental illness has become this all-encompassing term that pretty much just means being uncomfortable, or being annoyed. Mental illness. Now I know there's actual mental illnesses. There are psychotic people. There are people with chemical imbalances in their brain. But that's such a small percentage of actual people compared to what people consider mentally ill people. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a mental illness. And the problem with that is, you feel bad, so you think that there's something wrong with you and you got to get treated for it. But the real truth is that you should feel bad. You should feel bad, not all the time, but you should feel bad some of the time at least. If you've done something wrong, if you have something stressful going on in your life, if something sad happened, you should feel bad and anxious, and you should feel sad about it. That's called being a human being. If your dad just died or something crazy like that, yeah, you should feel depressed about that. You should grieve if that happens to you. If you got a big report coming up that you got to do, or a presentation or something like that, you should feel anxious and nervous about that, because that's important. There's regular human emotions that people just don't want to feel anymore. Depression and anxiety are probably the biggest two. I'm gonna grab some McDonald's here. But the one that I focus on the most, that's become the craziest to me, that we've tried to solve, is boredom. Specifically talking about ADHD people. It's become so crazy to me that as a society we've just agreed that a 6-year-old kid who doesn't want to sit still for 8 hours a day in one classroom doing some boring homework and listening to a teacher talk for 8 hours straight, we've decided that person is mentally ill. And you notice it's always men. Or boys, young boys, are always the ADHD people. Because guess what? A little boy doesn't want to sit still for 8 hours and listen to a teacher talk. None of them do. And if your kid does, that's very sad. But the solution to that has been get them hooked on drugs for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? Oh, no, he just needs help focusing. Let's give him meth. That's been the result. And there's so many parents who go along with it. Because these parents just don't want to deal with their kid. They get home and they're tired. They don't have to deal with their kid wanting to enjoy their childhood and play. So they're like, yeah, maybe let's get them drugged up so that they calm down and we can just not have to deal with them at all. That's kind of how it's become. And millions of parents are like that. Now you got an entire generation of kids hooked on drugs, feeding the pharmaceutical giant billions and billions of dollars. That's a great plan. So that's the craziest one. But like I said, it's for everything. It's for, oh, something sad happened to me. I'm depressed. Better take some antidepressants. Oh, I'm nervous about something. Better take some anti-anxiety pills. Look, if you're my age and you're in college and all this stuff, you should be anxious all the time. This is really the time where what you do really matters. You should be anxious about what you do. You got a lot of stuff going on. You shouldn't take medication for that. We've just decided that normal human emotions are now mental illnesses. Being unhappy is not a mental illness. Being nervous is not a mental illness. Being bored is not a mental illness. It's called being a human being. And if you're... okay, I'll say this, because there's people who say, well, medication's bad. What about therapy? Going to therapy and stuff like that. And my stance on therapy is pretty much this. If you're a guy, you should never step foot in a therapist's office. Pretty much ever. If you're a girl, that's fine. Go talk to a therapist. Do whatever you want. Girls love to talk. But if you're a guy, there's already an excuse. There's already a solution for any perceived mental illness you have in your life. It's called the gym. Now, you could say, well, Mr. Noble Comics, you're not very ripped. You don't go to the gym. And I don't go to the gym, but I also don't have any mental illnesses. So that's my excuse. But if you're struggling with something, go to the gym. Just lift weights and you will feel better. That's like the one, just if you lift weights and eat right, your mind and body will be right and you'll no longer have any of these perceived mental illnesses. You don't need to talk to anybody. As a man, you should never have to talk to somebody about your feelings. That's like the worst thing you could do. You just bottle it up inside, you go lift some weights, and then you keep it inside until you die. And that's pretty much how it works and how it should work. Because as a guy, there's kind of a little bit of a harsher reality that you got to realize, is that if there's something wrong in your life, you have to do something about it. A solution is not going to come your way. Nobody else is going to come save you or pull you from the depths of depression or whatever it is you're going through. You've got to do it yourself. You don't deserve anything. It's not going to be handed to you. You have to do something about it, and you have to seize a solution, which in the long run is going to be a lot better for you. If you're a girl, you don't get that same treatment. And while it may seem like a benefit, that's like you have this big support group of people willing to reach out and help you. You have lots of people telling you that you deserve to be happy and you deserve better and you deserve this and you deserve that. It may seem better, but in the long run, it is just going to cripple you mentally and totally leave you unprepared for any hardship in your life. So if you're a chick, you kind of need to realize that you can't depend on that stuff, and you shouldn't depend on that stuff. But as a guy, that's kind of your baseline where you have to start from. But again, that's not a bad thing. It's probably better than the alternative, is learning how to do it yourself and deal with this stuff yourself. Because on the other end of it, you're going to come out of it mentally superior than you were before, let alone physically superior if you took the weightlifting advice. So that's kind of all I have. Mental illness, I think a lot of it's BS. I think a lot of it is an excuse. I think a lot of it is not wanting to face reality. And the solution is that you just have to face it. You have to take it on. You have to realize what they're doing to you, why they're doing it. It's all just to make money and control you. And you have to get past that. And you have to seize your solutions. And your life will improve drastically.